The Eagles just made one of their most important signings this offseason, especially when you realize exactly how much potential Azeez Ojulari has and what it means for the Birds' future. So, in this video, we'll get into that and talk about why you might be underestimating the pass rush. Plus, even with the bittersweet announcements from Brandon Graham, why is the Philly legend far from leaving the team? Meanwhile, Lane Johnson is locked in for a couple more years, yet there's one significant move left for Howie Roseman to make, so which direction will he go? But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Well, like we said, it may take a while, but Howie Roseman is always cooking something up. And when it comes to the defense, he won't stop until he's acquired every single Georgia Bulldog.
You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
For those counting, the Eagles now have 7 Philly Dogs from the Georgia team of 2020 or later, after the most recent addition of pass rusher Azeez Ojulari from the Giants. And before I get into more of the specifics, the best part is that ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said New York was really trying to bring him back. It's just the recruitment from the Birds and seeing how former Giants can perform ultimately tipped the scales for Azeez, resulting in another reliving of a nightmare for Joe Schoen and John Mara.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
I'm going to have a tough time sleeping if it goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that.
Obviously, Ojulari isn't anywhere close to the level of signing that Saquon Barkley was, but I would still argue that this is Howie Roseman's biggest or best signing this offseason. And regardless of how you feel, it's no secret what some of the fellas think about the move, with Nolan Smith sharing his excitement that he's even more hyped to get back to work with his brother coming to the Eagles. Also, despite Ojulari being a second-round pick in the 2021 NFL Draft and Nolan getting drafted in 2023, believe it or not, but both guys are only 6 months apart in age. In fact, both guys actually overlapped for 2 seasons at Georgia before Ojulari left for the draft, which there's no doubt that Ojulari lived up to the expectations in his first season with the Giants, as the 24-year-old had a rookie season that featured 49 tackles, 8 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. FYI, those 8 sacks ended up being a Giants all-time record for a rookie. And then you could make the argument that Ojulari would have exceeded those numbers had he not gotten injured, since in just 7 games the following year, Azeez registered 5.5 sacks along with 3 forced fumbles. And honestly, this is where it's at. The biggest risk or the biggest concern, because the issue for Ojulari over the last several years is just being able to stay on the field, with a 6'3", 240-pound edge suffering a variety of ankle, calf, and foot injuries, which have led to him missing 22 games over the past 3 seasons. Yet even with all that concern, the estimated market value for Ojulari entering free agency was $7.6 million, especially since during the trade deadline last year, the Giants actually received a couple calls for offers on Azeez, with reports being as high as a 5th-round pick being offered. But sadly, in Giants' typical fashion, they missed out on a golden opportunity.
Do you realize what you've done?
By the way, New York's projected comp pick now for Ojulari with Philly signing him is a 7th-round pick instead of that 5th-round pick. Obviously, it's no secret how much of a fan I am of this move, but to get Ojulari for just $4 million is massive. Granted, I know the Birds lost some pass rushers and guys this offseason on the D-line, but the silver lining here is that when it comes to the chemistry of that unit, personally, I think it's going to be better. After all, remember in the NFC divisional game when Jalen Carter noticed a tell from the Rams and signaled to Nolan, which then resulted in a sack? Well, yeah, you got guys who have played together before and treat each other like brothers. For the record, hear me out. No, I'm not saying that they didn't have chemistry last year with Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, all the others, but I just want to make the case here to go, look, this is not a guy that you're signing off the street to say, can he fit in this scheme like with the players? We'll figure it out with Vic Fangio, but can he fit with the players? Is he going to be lacking confidence? Will he not feel a part of the unit? That is totally out of question. Come on, like how many times do we see the Eagles end up on the positive side of this? Plus, for those counting, the Eagles have now added 14 players who were 1st or 2nd-round picks. So as Zack said, this is not a coincidence. The Eagles have confidence in their player development and their culture. FYI, taking guys who have those tools in their body and turning them into dudes who reach their full potential.
He's good. With my help, he could be the best.
I'm just saying, Ojulari is averaging 1 sack every other game, so now add him in with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt. Like, even if the dudes end up getting like 6 to 7 sacks, that's a huge win for the Eagles. So for real, just like the other free agents of the past, he'll get a chance to play in prime time, make a playoff run, build up his value, and then either hit the market or re-sign with the Birds next offseason.
Win, win, win. No.
Look, either he plays incredibly well and you sign him back to a long-term deal, or you end up getting a 3rd-round or 4th-round compensatory pick. Either way, all it cost you was $4 million. Yet surprisingly, or I don't know, maybe unsurprisingly, there's still been a couple haters for this move. Granted, not a lot, but I'm tired of all the pessimistic viewpoints. Yes, even after losing several different players. Heck, let me remind you, not that this is every single move, but the Eagles lost 2 Hall of Fame players who were still at the very top of their game, and we ended up making it to the Super Bowl and winning it. Now sure, it's not like that happens very often, but Howie's proven more often than not that he can backfill and find those diamonds in the rough. Also, when it comes to Ojulari, even though he's similar size to Nolan Smith, he typically wins thanks to his wingspan by utilizing that advantage while keeping blockers away from him. Plus, if you dig up some other areas of expertise, the dude seems to execute stunts at a really high level. So again, going back to that chemistry thing with the Philly Dawgs, but I think that could be an underrated aspect of this move. Anyway, how did this change your perspective of free agency for the Eagles, and also what's your sack prediction for Ojulari? Let me know that in the comments, and also while you're letting me know that, make sure to drop a like on this video and double check to make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because the more Philly Dawgs the better. And reminder, but Thomas and I will be selecting a couple lucky subscribers to join us on our visit to the NovaCare complex this offseason to hang out with the Philly Dawgs. Now, while that is very exciting, I'm not going to lie, it was tough to see Brandon Graham officially call it the end of a career after 15 seasons. Of course, I got to give props to the Eagles social team for the BG cleats on the Rocky statue, along with the Rocky quote of, "It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." After all, that's how winning is done.
What I want them to take from the story is it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so for me, if you get another opportunity, whatever that opportunity is, run with it. But if I ain't make it back to the Super Bowl, man, I probably wouldn't be up here right now. I promise you. I'll be begging to come on back one more.
That is absolutely BG, and I love the fact that he had basically already made up his mind if he was not going to get back and be able to play, then he was going to run it back for one more season. I mean, this dude is one of the greatest Eagles legends ever. And let me just say this, but the fact that we got to interview him ahead of his final season on the field is something I never could have envisioned. Like, BG's the guy who sealed Philly's first Super Bowl ever. So to hear him talk about what his time has meant while thanking all of his teammates and family and fans definitely got me emotional watching his presser. Of course, as we typically do on this channel, we gotta find a way to celebrate. So stay tuned, but I'm gonna be giving away a signed Brandon Graham jersey on an upcoming video. Just make sure to hit that sub button, turn the notifications on. Also, as always, please don't fall for the nasty scammers. Remember, I will always announce winners on the video if you aren't present during a live stream to claim the prize, and I have a check mark next to my profile since I'm verified by YouTube. I took some time to think about this, but you know what I appreciate the most about BG is the fact that he is who he is 100% of the time. Meaning you're going to get that happy juice energy at practices, games, and just about everywhere else. Yet even with all that, the 36-year-old was doubted at times, being labeled as a bust after his first couple seasons in Philly, but 55 never stopped showing up and putting the work in, which is why despite doubters and injuries and media drama, the man went out on top. Granted, one of my personal favorite takeaways from the presser was hearing BG pass the torch to Nolan while admitting number 3 is going to have to keep backing up BG's trash talk.
To let them know, like, it's your time. And like I just told Nolan, like, man, this your room. Look how crazy. Nah, you the guy. You the oldest guy in that room. So let's go out there. Let's go take care of business. And I love it. I love just the intensity of it. I love just, man, now I can send my goons out for them. Now I got a little different little lingo I'm going to say to these guys on the field because, of course, I got to talk my stuff. I can't do nothing about it, but I can send Nolan out there to go do it.
Okay, so in case you didn't get to catch the full press conference, it doesn't sound like BG's going to be leaving the Eagles. I mean, sure, his playing days are over, but the vet said he plans on having dinner with owner Jeffrey Lurie to see how he can hang around and help groom the young players. And I'm all in favor of that. I think everyone is, because why wouldn't you keep that dude in the building? For one, this guy knows the D-line and linebacker group incredibly well and understands Fangio's system. Plus, with the connection to Nolan, the rest of the Philly Dawgs, and fellow Michigan alum Josh Uche, it just makes too much sense.
BG's been what you call a real OG in the game. I mean, I remember being at Michigan, he'd always come back to the school for a pro day. And then, you know, a couple years ago when we played Philly in the season opener, you know, I was able to do a jersey swap with him, which was really cool. And before I made it official and put, you know, pen to paper, I DM'd him on Instagram. And, you know, I just told him I'm going to be leaning on him for, you know, some questions or whatever I might have going on. So he's a legend, man. And it's just an honor to be here.
Even with the Ojulari signing, Josh Uche is a player I'm still really high on. And I broke down all the reasons why in a past video, but Uche recently talked about his work ethic and relentless effort on why he wanted to come to Philly, which is what we've said for a while, because if you're a player, especially on defense, how can you not look at what Vic Fangio and the other positional coaches have done for other dudes' careers and think to yourself, that's where I want to be? I mean, Lane Johnson would certainly echo that, as the future Hall of Famer signed a 1-year extension through 2027. Of course, if you're wondering how or what that does to the financials, it essentially gave Lane an additional $30 million in guarantees by reworking his contract. And much like the Saquon contract previously, rewards him for being the top right tackle in the game while guaranteeing that he'll play for at least a couple more seasons. Granted, there's probably a couple million that it frees up in cap space with a restructure, but we're not talking about a massive amount of room created. Still, it sends the right message like we talked about in the past. If you come to Philly and you play well, you will absolutely be rewarded. I mean, that might sound like a really small thing, but not every team can say that during negotiations, or they certainly can't back it up with history of having done that. And ultimately, that's what Howie Roseman is doing, building a roster that allows for a reload next season. For real, with all the guys under contract and the 12 picks or more next year, it's not a stretch to say winning a three-peat might not be as hard as going back-to-back.
No, shut up before you jinx us.
Sorry, I'll stop. It's just that seeing Howie Roseman make these moves, you can kind of feel something building. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm at the point now to where if the Eagles can go out and get a safety, whether it be a free agent or a top one in the draft, I'll be feeling really good about the squad. I mean, I feel solid already, but it just kind of is the one area with the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade and how all that went down. But again, we're going to be fine either way. Just get that one more safety, and we are absolutely locked up. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the live stream. This has been the Philly Special.